of being here in the ashram in Vrindavan, India, at the Neem Kaoli Baba mahāsamādhi temple. Mahāsamādhi meaning that this is where he exited his body. I remember reading some of the stories, like they didn't really kind of know where he wanted to go, and then like at the last minute he sort of chose to come here.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
And within a matter of hours, his body was burning just outside in the courtyard back in the 70s. So this is one of the more significant temples. And the reason we are here is because Neem Kaoli Baba's grandson, when we were back in Bhopal, we had gone there. I think you may have heard this in another episode. And everyone in the household sort of stopped and looked at us and said, Maharaji wants you to go to Vrindavan. We didn't have that in our itinerary. And
we didn't know how we were going to make that happen.
We were actually thinking that we would somehow have to tack it on at the end and do a much longer trip, but confession, I don't think I got the hours and the mileage correct. But we decided it would be better to leave from Varanasi and come here and then go back to Varanasi. So that's what we did, in a car for 9.5 hours.
It was long.
It was long.
The roads were much nicer than I anticipated.
That was true. I learned something, that there is actually super highways in India. So the journey was interesting. So I don't know about you, but so in my mind, I formulated some mythical big thing, like, oh, we have to go because something's going to happen. And there have been interesting things that have happened, but nothing that has matched the story in my mind.
Right.
How about you?
It's been chill. But it's been nice. For me, I've enjoyed the peace, relative peace, and having an adventure. But yeah, no fireworks or...
but interesting little things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to right after we met. So our friends Nikki and Michael let us use their cabin in North Georgia. And so when we got to the cabin, it was a beautiful little balcony that overlooked the mountains. We made a little altar, a little puja table on there. And we put fruit and flowers and little candies and things and Maharaji's photo, and did not think twice about wildlife. And it was so pretty. We were like, oh, this is really sweet. And we sat out and we watched the sunset. And when it was time to go to bed, we closed the doors and went inside, but we did not dismantle the altar.
It got dismantled.
And the next morning, it was like, there were like chocolates and things. And the next morning, there's like a trail of chocolate wrapper papers and
half-eaten apple crumble things.
That the fruit was decimated, and I mean, it was just, everything was just knocked over, and you could see the little wrappers that went all the way down into the woods where they had enjoyed themselves. So they were like, ooh,
chocolate.
Stupid people are here. And so we kind of went, oh, we should think. And so we cleaned it up. I remember we cleaned it up. We had to sweep.
Everything, yeah.
We had to sweep because there was just, oh my God, I don't know if we ever told Nikki and Michael. They're probably hearing it for the first time.
Sorry.
So we had to clean up the balcony. And I went inside to make coffee. And where the counter is in their cabin, you could stand there and you could see out. And so this one was sitting out there in a rocking chair.
We had cleaned everything up.
We had,
We swept.
because we were,
there was pollen on the ground. We got all,
I'm a little neurotic about cleaning, and so we had just done a stellar job. You had never known that Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom had come to that thing. And so I'm standing and I'm making coffee. I'm watching him sitting in the rocker, staring out at the mountains, and I look down, and right beside him by the rocker is a whole apple. I'm going to let you pick up the story from what the significance of that is.
So I looked down, and we looked at the apple, and we looked at each other, and we're just flabbergasted. And so Neem Kaoli Baba Maharaji would often get prasad from the devotees, which is the food that gets blessed. And often it would be apples and bananas, and he would throw apples. And that's supposedly how Apple was named, because Steve Jobs went to Kenchi, and so apples are a big deal to Maharaji. And so
we're filming on an apple right now.
And here we are. And so we felt like that was Maharaji giving us a gift.
It was sweet. I mean, it was like, because neurotic cleaner had cleaned everything. So the same kind of thing happened here. This is really, it's rough around here. And the trip was long, and there's hardly anyone that speaks English. The manager was none too pleased that two white people showed up and were like, "Yeah, we're gonna stay." And we had been not forewarned, but we had been told by Neem Kaoli Baba's grandson to call him when we got here and to speak to the manager. So there were words exchanged on the phone by him and the manager very reluctantly brought us a room. So by the time all of that happened, it's late. It's after 8 o'clock, and the gates are closing, and we don't really have enough water. We don't have enough drinking water, mineral water in the bottles. And so we said to one another, we need water.
And we were just like, oh, well, I guess we're just going to make do with what we have, and we'll figure it out in the morning.
The next day.
And so we were kind of walking away from where we were, heading up these steps toward our room, and there was a full unopened bottle of drinking water on the steps. But we had just been, we were milling around right by the steps. We were talking, not really talking to people because nobody's speaking English, but we were kind of just milling, and there was no water there, just minutes before.
And then there was a full, sealed, unopened, big bottle of water. So that happened, and then there are monkeys everywhere, and so you have to kind of keep everything closed, and there's screens and kind of caged things in, so not a lot is out in the open in terms of your personal belongings. So there is a little balcony doorway over here that opens to the back where the trash is, and there is this big bin, and we looked, and there's a blanket. So Maharaji would wear a blanket. Almost all of the pictures that you see of him, he's sitting on a tucket in his blanket, and there is the blanket, the plaid blanket that he most seemed to wear, and all of the just folded very neatly across
this garbage bin.
Like right in our sight line outside of the thing, and we're like, what?
I guess just in case we didn't think we'd find him out there.
Or, yeah. So then if you go out this front door, this is funny because there are big signs in the different temple walls and the roofs of Maharaji's sayings, and they're in English. And no one speaks English.
Zero.
So we're like, maybe this is for us. They'll probably turn to Hindi when we leave. But the one that you see directly when you walk outside is,
it's better
to see God in everything than to try to figure it out.
Okay.
So, like, in and out the door, that's like right in our face. It's better to see God in everything than try to figure it out. So, I am aware that, well, since last we talked, much has unfolded with regards to my understanding of a guru. I don't know if you watched last week's episode, but I was very meticulous to reference that he and our friend Vishal, their guru, because I was not piggybacking on someone's path or someone's story. I have participated fully because I get and I respect that particular path. I am so endeared with Ram Dass, identify with Ram Dass, always have. And I appreciated the way Ram Dass would say, it wasn't my path, I was more Buddhist. I mean, Jewish-born, Buddhist affinity, training, and then lo and behold, he comes upon Maharaji and everything just changes. And after Vipassana meditation, I could really see an alignment, like just a crystal clear alignment between my metaphysical immersion for 30-something years and Buddhist principles and philosophies. I could really see a beautiful harmony in the non-dualistic place where I feel like I've more arrived than anywhere. So to go from this, I'm a non-dual guy, God is, in everything, to suddenly going, well, crap, this guru's calling me? I don't know. We're in the car with this one and Vishal back in Ahmedabad, and they're just laughing at me because, like, they're in on the joke, like Maserati. See, Maharaji is really having fun with me. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I'm sitting here in my mind going, why are we here? Like, why did we go to all this journeying to be here? Because I'm looking for the flash. I'm looking for the big thing.
Yeah. And I'm not.
And this one's not. And so
I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
Well, no. What happened in the temple last night?
So, yeah. So then there's a big murti of Maharaji, and he's all smiley, and
it's a nice one.
It's a very nice murti. And every night and every morning we do arti, which is just prayers and bells and chimes and light
and the fire, and it's really beautiful.
Offering of the light to the guru or whatever murti is there. And so we were doing this with Maharaji's murti, and David kind of kept moving over, and I kept seeing Maharaji just winking at him. His eyes are very flashy.
And I was moving over because I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because the eyes in the murti are not directly forward. They were more to the right. So I thought, I'm going to kind of move to the right and focus on his face and see if I can get a direct eye line. And there's people all around. And this one's like, did you see? And I'm like, see what?
He was just winking away at David. That's what I saw. And I thought David knew because he just kind of kept...
I was like moving, trying to get into the, to see. But evidently he was flirting with me.
He's always flirting with him. He just...
So what's my problem?
Your problem.
Diagnose my problem.
Oh gosh. We gotta.
So here's my problem.
I think
there's this
and this.
Yeah.
This is super strong, and this is super strong, and these two are not fully. And I feel like you're so open, and obviously because you guys know how he just and all of the wisdom comes comes out, and so you're obviously open in all your channels, but there's some sort of kind of heart to head connection. And I was thinking about it. I didn't share this with you yet, but that, like, I wanted to ask you about how do you experience love? Because so for me here in my experience, I'm experiencing Maharaji in the subtle ways of like the food that the people are feeding, and it's actually the pujari, who's like the priest of the temple, one of the temple where Maharaji's Murti is, who is giving the food. And it just feels so like Maharaji is giving me the food. Mm-hmm. And like all the stories of Maharaji just forcing food on the devotees. So every time someone hands me prasad, chai, the meal, I feel Maharaji inside of me, like serving me and being with me. So I'm wondering how do you feel like personally loved? I think that's I think the non-dual thing is so they call it the guardless path.
Yeah.
The path with no guardrails, because there's nothing. It's easy to have devotion to a guru because there's a dualism.
And see, I feel like I migrated away from that, from the religion of my upbringing, the God in the sky, and I realized that this is not this. Any guru would tell you that everything is the guru, and yet I remember Ram Dass talking one time on a podcast about how he had found himself in the same category as Hafiz and Rumi and all of the people who knew the non-dualistic nature of God, and yet had this deep love affair with the reverence of the beloved, whatever the beloved guru was for them. You understand? And so it was almost a purposeful, I'm going to sit back a little bit, I'm going to hesitate, and in this incarnation I'm still going to bow down to the feet of the perfected being and be in love with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you remember when he talked about that?
Right.
He said, there is that plane or channel of the all.
Right.
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm still trying to figure all this out.
So the plane of oneness is, it's kind of like, well, that's when the show is over. And so in a devotional relationship with the guru, you hang back from that allness just so that you can have the love affair. And sometimes he would even say, Ram Dass would say, it's like foreplay before having an orgasm, because you hold back on the orgasm so that you can enjoy the sensual pleasures of the foreplay. And so that's that's one way to describe the devotional aspects of Guru Kripa and that path of dualism. Like, so Hanuman never wanted to merge with Ram because he wanted to always be able to serve Ram or God. So by having that little bit of separation, you have this delicious flow and love.
So I've evidently never done anything linear in my life. So the relief that I felt when I found metaphysics, when I threw myself wholeheartedly into science of mind, and when it took a while for me to really understand the allness of God, and that everything is God, everything is the guru, everything is a gatekeeper, everything. There is no place where God, in the presence of that divine nature and that divine design, does not exist. And so obviously we struggle with that. We deeply struggle with that in the human form. And so it kept requiring me to go beyond the human form, to go beyond this plane of existence, to be able to understand and bring integrity to the idea that God is indeed all that there is, no matter what. This has been just such a tragic week.
Yeah.
As the news, what little news we're able to grasp, and I will tell you, every spiritual teacher that really deeply impacted me, I would say they had a really good sense of timing, meaning that they didn't rush to the end of the doctrine and say God is all that there is. There was this very methodical stepping stone element of allowing me to shed my humanness and to shed my dualism and to shed all of those things. And so to have arrived at a place where it wasn't just regurgitation of a textbook because I was still trying to run away from something. It was a genuine coming home and going, oh. And I've always strived to be a teacher that could meet the person wherever they are and help facilitate a greater understanding of what that non-dualism means. That God is indeed them. They are absorbed in that. So to me, this is like a curve, and I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to saying, hey, I have a guru. I'm following Neem Kaoli Baba. He is an avatar of that which is a perfected being. I'm talking to him. I'm bowing to his feet. I've said countless times over the last 24 hours, I give you my heart, I give you my life, I give you my efforts, I give you my creativity, and I don't know what that means with regards to the old system. And it's not an abandonment of the old system. It's something I could have never imagined. It's like taking that system that I had become so joyous about and having it shown to me, you're still in your head, David. You're still in your head. And quite honestly, I don't know what it will take for there to be a complete congruence, but I'm open. Have you guys been talking behind my back?
Yeah,
scheming. This one, when we were driving to the airport, when Vishal was driving the car and he was in the back and I was in the front seat, and all of a sudden the way they were talking to me, I just got it. I was like, and I looked at him and I said, "You've known all along, haven't you?" And he just like, I don't even know what we're saying. We're hot and we're a little road weary.
Mm-hmm.
We've been gone for a month now, and some of the biggest tasks are before us. So prayers are appreciated.
Be good.
We will. So here's one of the things. When you go this path of the guru, it's this thing of stop worrying. Stop over managing. doesn't mean that you don't manage. Stop over managing. It's no different, again, than the metaphysical path of you just show up. But it's like I'm looking at the weeks ahead, and we'll be in Cambodia, and we've got 20 water wells to manage in a displacement camp of people who've been moved. I've got 14 people from America coming, and the manager in me, the producer in me, sometimes wakes up at night going, ooh, I hope this person can do this, and I hope this person gets there okay, and I start to spin. And what I'm realizing is that when I get to that place, just like we learned in the Vipassana meditation, is to just let it go. Right now, I'm just saying, take it, Maharaji. Take it.
That's the way. It saves so much energy when you can just, because the results will be the same whether you are worrying about it or not.
We're
so helpful.
Yeah. And then we come back to India, and we bring 6 people with us back to the state of Bihar, back to the schools. We're setting up a computer lab. So like every day we're trying to find a workable ATM to take cash out, because the relationship between wiring money from America to here is very difficult, and there are limits. And so to be able to have the cash, because when we get to Calcutta, before we fly to Cambodia, we're buying like 5 laptop workstations for one school, and then 2 for another. And we've got to get all of that stuff purchased. And so to have enough cash on hand to be able to do that in Calcutta before we leave, and then we'll sit and wait, and then it's just logistics. And so any of you who wear a producer's hat or a leadership hat or any of that kind of stuff, you know what I'm talking about. And it doesn't matter how old I get or how much experience I have. There's a part of me that frets. Please don't unlike and unfollow. So maybe in my twilight years, this me and Maharaji, he's just going to say, you need to stop fretting, David. What else?
I think so.
What else?
I think that's it. We're giving our futures to the Guru. Or I am. And it sounds like you are too. So that it will be an interesting little experiment. And we're going to not figure it all out. We're not going to try to see God in everything.
So when we walk outside our front door every time, what does it say?
See God in every. It's better to see God in everything than to try to figure it out. So that's easy. There's
your assignment. You don't have to come all the way to Vrindavan, India, and sleep in an ashram in the heat.
The beds are a little firm, like rock.
Sometimes there's no water.
But it's beautiful.
Oh my God. So anyway, so you don't have to come all the way here to practice what we're practicing. You can do that in the comfort of your air-conditioned home with coffee.
Coffee. Send some.
Send coffee. Bye, everybody.
Ram.
Much love.